Greetings YouTubers, Atarileaf here with a new feature called Playing Lately. It differs from my traditional reviews in that I simply focus on talking about games that I've been enjoying playing recently, just for the sheer fun of this great hobby of ours. It could be one game or several games across multiple platforms, or several games on a single platform. Today, I'm going to focus on 4 games that I've been enjoying on the Nintendo 64. 4 games that I've been playing lately. I will admit that the Nintendo 64 is a kind of afterthought console for me. By the time it was released, I was heavily into PC gaming, and didn't consider the consoles of the time worth my money, as the kind of games that I enjoyed weren't to be found on traditional consoles. We did end up getting one very late in the system's run, and did enjoy games like Mario Kart 64 and GoldenEye, but I didn't know much about the system or many of its games. That's changed recently, as I've been trying several N64 games that I never played, ever. One thing I've noticed is that the N64 actually has a lot of quality racing games, a genre that I still enjoy today. The first game is one of 2 racing games in this video, and it's Ridge Racer 64. I paid $5 for this title from a local pawn shop, and bought it based on name recognition alone. I'm glad I did. This is one solid racer for the N64, and contains the tracks from previous incarnations of the series. The arcade style of racing is perfectly suited to my tastes, and the N64 controller works very well as I tried to power slide my way through the game. RR64 has an excellent Grand Prix mode that allows you to work your way through the tracks, and the graphics and frame rate are excellent for the system. I really like this arcade racer and highly recommend it. It's been getting a lot of playtime in my house, and when my buddies come over, Ridge Racer is always asked for. An excellent racer by Namco. Speaking of Namco, the second game that I've been playing a lot lately is Namco Museum 64. Yes, it's another in a long line of compilation carts featuring 6 Namco classics like Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Galaxian, Galaga, Dig Dug, and Pole Position. But they're done very well. And what red-blooded retro gamer can resist such a collection? I'm a sucker for these compilation carts, and will eagerly seek them out for any system I own. And this Nintendo 64 version has a very polished feel, and the games are still as fun today as they were 25 plus years ago. My one lament is that some of my favorite Namco games are omitted, such as Mappy and Rally X. Games that would appear on compilations on later systems, but that one minor complaint aside, you can't really go wrong with this cart. The third game I'd like to mention is the second racing game, and one that completely flew under my radar for a long time. Beetle Adventure Racing by Electronic Arts. I picked up this game based on the comments of many of my YouTube friends who've owned and enjoyed this very well done racer. Who would have thought that a racing game based solely around the lowly Volkswagen Beetle could be so much fun? After enduring many a sore arm as a kid playing Punch Buggy on long vacation trips, I was reticent to try a game that caused me so much emotional and physical trauma, but I'm glad I did. Beetle Adventure Racing is a real winner, and a fantastic N64 racer. Featuring several models of the Beetle, as well as 6 very long and beautifully rendered tracks, Beetle Racing is one of the most beautiful and graphically impressive games on the system. With a very forgiving physics model, which I prefer, I can't help but be reminded of another EA racing series, Need for Speed. Sure, they aren't exactly the same, but Beetle Racing gives me the same thrill that the Need for Speed series does, minus the police chases. There's also an excellent mode called Beetle Battle, which has each player trying to collect different colored icons to win the game. Fantastic racer. I love it and play it a lot. Grab a copy if you don't have one already. The last game is an updated version of Eugene Jarvis's hit Robotron for the N64 called, surprise surprise, Robotron 64. There was a distinct movement in the mid to late 90s to reimagine many of the old classic arcade hits like Centipede, Frogger, Breakout, and even Pong. with updated gameplay and pseudo 3D graphics. Some fared better than others, but I was personally disappointed in most of these updated remakes, so I was initially hesitant about this new version of one of my favorite arcade games. But since it was only $2 in the local game store's bargain bin, I decided to give it a shot. Boy, am I glad I did. Robotron 64 retains the frantic and frenetic gameplay of the original, and the updated graphics, while no great leap visually, work well. And let's face it, you don't play these old arcade games for the graphics anyway, you play them for their gameplay, which shines through. Although you can play with one controller and it works well, what really impressed me was the ability to use two N64 controllers and use the analog sticks on each to move and shoot. Very reminiscent of the original arcade game, and a genius move in my opinion. Robotron 64 is definitely the game to own on the N64, if you love old arcade-style games. Well, that's it for my first in this new series. I hope you enjoyed it, and tune in next time to find out what I'm playing lately.